Chapter 1: The Iron Grip of Regret. James Jimmy Wilkins sits in the dim light of his cell, the clanging of metal doors echoing painfully in his ears. Once a devoted high school teacher, he now spends his days wrestling with an unbearable guilt, his crime of passion that cost him his family and shattered countless lives. In his diary, he pours out his heart, reflecting on memories of laughter in the classroom, the pride of inspiring young minds, and the moment everything changed. The stark reality of prison life surrounds him, each encounter with fellow inmates a painful reminder of his once promising future. Yet within the iron grip of regret, a flicker of hope remains. He yearns for redemption and has chosen to channel his sorrow into a mentoring role, believing that through education he might help others avoid the path he took. Each pen stroke becomes a plea for forgiveness, both from himself and those he has wronged. Chapter 2: The Hopeful Dreamer. Maria May Gonzalez. As I sit in my cell, surrounded by cold concrete, colors explode in my mind like a canvas waiting to be filled. Each day brings the same routine, but in my imagination, I'm a famous painter, showcasing my art in galleries far beyond these walls. With contraband materials, a stolen toothbrush handle, and discarded newspaper, I create vibrant pieces that reflect my dreams, fears, and the tangled emotions of confinement. In my diary, I describe the moment a fellow inmate admired my latest piece, a swirl of blues and greens depicting the ocean I've never seen. Her smile was a burst of sunlight in the dark. Through art, I reclaim a sense of identity, defying the label placed upon me. Despite the harshness around me, hope seeps into every stroke, reminding me that even here, amid despair, creativity can flourish, proving that the spirit remains unbroken. Chapter 3: The Chronicles of Brotherhood. In the confines of these gray walls, I discovered a brotherhood unlike any I had known before. I once led a gang, ruled by fear and violence, but within this prison, I found the strength to redefine what it means to be a man. My diary chronicles the transformation of my fellow inmates and me, as we navigate the complexities of trust and forgiveness. Each entry reveals shared vulnerabilities, moments of vulnerability amid the harsh realities of confinement. We gather in the library, exchanging stories, encouraging one another to break free from the shackles of our pasts. The echoes of laughter mingle with the serious discussions about redemption and healing. Together, we create a community, striving to rewrite our narratives and support those who struggle. This bond, forged in adversity, reminds me that even behind bars, it is possible to cultivate hope and nurture the seeds of change.
Laughter.
In the cold confines of prison, where despair often reigns, I've learned that laughter can be a lifeline. Each morning, I wake to the rumble of clattering trays and grumpy guards, but my heart dances with the hope of brightening my fellow inmates' day. My diary is filled with quips, absurd antics, and the outrageous characters that roam these halls. I recount a recent poker game where a bluff turned into a hilarious debacle, sending the whole table into hysterics. Through humor, I've forged bonds that transcend the iron bars surrounding us. Together, we share inside jokes, turning mundane moments into treasured memories. My goal isn't just to survive this place, it's to remind my brothers that joy can still find a home in the darkest corners. In each chuckle lies a thread of resilience, weaving our stories together and lighting up the bleakest of days. Chapter 5: The Ghosts of the Past. Rebecca Beck Caldwell. As I write this entry, the oppressive walls of this place seem to close in tighter. Each corner whispers secrets of what I used to be, a journalist unearthing truths, now trapped by accusations I refuse to accept as my own. My diary becomes my lifeline, a vessel through which I reclaim my narrative. The ghosts of my former life, the exposés, the late nights chasing justice, haunt me daily. Yet, I find solace in the stories of my fellow inmates, often forgotten by the world outside. I rally them, urging each to share their truths, bridging our painful experiences into a collective cry for recognition. Together we expose the systemic flaws that imprison not just our bodies, but our souls. This place may steal my freedom, but it will never extinguish my quest for justice. Here among the ghosts, I am determined to resurrect their voices, the voices of the forgotten. Chapter 6: The Invisible Barrier, Officer David Reynolds. As I walk the echoing halls of Ridgewood Penitentiary, my heart is heavy with the understanding of the invisible barriers that separate us. Each day I don the uniform, but the shield it provides is only skin deep. My role is to ensure order, yet I often witness the silent suffering of the inmates behind the bars, their dreams crushed, their potentials stifled. In my diary, I reflect on the lives that once thrived outside, now reduced to mere statistics. I find dignity in small conversations about family, reminding these men of the world they left behind. However, I am reminded constantly of the walls that divide us, walls made not just of concrete, but of fear and distrust. Yet in these fleeting moments I see glimmers of hope, laughter shared, stories exchanged. It's through empathy that I strive to dissolve those barriers, even if just for a brief moment in an unforgiving system. Chapter 7. The Weight of Silence. An inmate serving a long sentence. In the oppressive quiet of my cell, the weight of silence bears down on me like a heavy shroud. Days weave together in a monotonous tapestry of routine. The echo of slamming doors and distant shouts fade into mere background noise. I've learned to find solace in solitude, yet the walls feel like they're closing in, amplifying my thoughts. The regrets, the lost time, the dreams that slip through my fingers like sand. Conversations are scarce, often limited to hushed whispers shared during fleeting moments in the yard or the clinking of metal trays during meals. The absence of meaningful connections stings, leaving a hollow ache in my chest. Despite this, I cling to memories of laughter and warmth, using them as a lifeline in the darkest hours. I realize that even in silence there's a story waiting to be heard, one of resilience, persistence, and an unyielding desire for understanding. Chapter 8. The Escape of Memory. Narrator, Leonard Len Thompson, a long-term inmate. The clanging of metal doors echoes in the back of Len's mind as he sits on the edge of his small cot, his fingers tracing the worn pages of a dog-eared photo album. Each faded image transports him back to sunlit afternoons with his family, laughter curling like smoke in the air. Those moments, crystalline and untainted, become his refuge from the relentless monotony of prison life. With each memory he finds a flicker of hope, the feeling of grass beneath his feet, the warmth of his daughter's embrace, the sound of his wife's voice before everything spiraled out of control. Len reflects on how nostalgia serves as both a comforting balm and a painful reminder. As he shares these memories in his diary, it becomes clear that while the walls may confine him, his mind remains free, a vivid landscape where he can escape momentarily and reconnect with who he once was. Chapter 9. Bonds. Sonia Sunny Rays. In the unforgiving confines of this prison, I have found family in the unlikeliest of places. As I pen these words, I look around at the faces of my fellow inmates, each scarred by their pasts, yet united by the shared experiences of survival. In here, bonds bloom from adversity. We may not be related by blood, but the love and support we offer each other cut deeper than familial ties. We've held midnight talks, shared dreams of freedom, and lent shoulders to cry on in moments of despair. Each day, we remind one another that our worth isn't defined solely by our mistakes. Instead, it's forged in these connections that grow amidst chaos. As we navigate the harsh realities of prison life, I understand that this sisterhood, fragile yet fierce, gives us strength to face another day. With laughter, tears, and unwavering loyalty, we create a semblance of home, finding hope in the bonds we forged behind these bars. Chapter 10. The Nature of Forgiveness. Malik Doc Johnson. As I sit in my cell, the muted sounds of the compound fade around me, and I ponder the weight of forgiveness. It's easy to hold on to anger and resentment, but true strength lies in letting go. I remember the faces of those I've hurt in my past, the friends lost to violence, and the families fractured by choices. Each day I gather our crew for discussions on forgiveness, not just as a concept, but as a crucial step toward healing. We share stories around the table, sometimes heavy with tears, other times brimming with laughter, as we reimagine our now closed chapters. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's about acknowledging the pain and choosing to move forward. I see the transformation in my peers, their willingness to break the cycle. In this prison, we're learning that while our past may define us, it doesn't have to dictate our future. True freedom comes from within. Chapter 11. Breaking the Cycle. A former gang member. As I sit in my cell, the weight of my past looms larger than the concrete walls that surround me. For years, I was entangled in a life defined by gang loyalty and violence, caught in a cycle that seemed impossible to escape. Each tattoo on my skin tells a story, a mark of survival in a world where vulnerability was weakness. But here, amidst the clatter of metal and whispers of regret, I found a flicker of hope. In group discussions, I share my story, reminding my fellow inmates that we can redefine our identities. I encourage them to reject the path that led us here, to forge connections rooted in understanding rather than fear. Together, we dream of futures free from the chains of our pasts. In this space of reflection, I witness the power of transformation, a testament that breaking the cycle is not just possible, but within reach. Chapter 12, Art as Resistance. In the dim light of my cell, I unroll a piece of contraband canvas, its rough texture a testament to my struggle and resilience. Each stroke, each splash of color represents the dreams I still cling to, a rebellion against the gray walls that confine me. I paint not just for myself, but for the voices of those unheard, my fellow inmates who silently yearn for freedom. Within these harsh confines, my art becomes a language of defiance. I depict our shared experiences, moments of laughter, sorrow, and hope, intertwining life behind bars with vivid fantasies of escape. The other inmates gather around as I weave stories through my brush, laughter and camaraderie blooming amidst the cruel isolation. My art transcends the iron bars, whispering our truths to anyone willing to listen, reminding the world outside that we too are human and deserving of a voice, resilient, vibrant, and unbroken. Chapter 13, The Voice of Advocacy, Rebecca Beck Caldwell. In these cold gray walls, I've found my voice, and I refuse to be silent. Every day I document the struggles and injustices faced by my fellow inmates, stories that echo beyond these prison bars. Through my words, I seek to unveil the grim realities of a system that often overlooks the vulnerable lives trapped within. Each diary entry becomes a powerful testament. The women forced into despair, the elderly forgotten in isolation, the mentally ill left without care. My pen is my weapon, shining a light on the systemic failings that led us all here. In the evenings, I gather with fellow inmates, sharing our stories, creating a chorus of resistance against a system that silences us. We are not just our crimes, we are human beings yearning for justice, redemption, and change. In this battle, I've found solidarity, and together, we vow to be heard.